Jay, that's strangely close to Daniel Jones from the Giants. Daniel, is that you? Beat the Chiefs. Show me. If the Broncos and Russell Wilson can show me that they can beat the Chiefs, then I will start believing.
The crowd up. And so are this defense, and Kansas City won't snap the ball again. The Denver Broncos have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs.
David Montgomery on the Lions, former Bear, gonna make this his revenge game for sure. David Montgomery gets the touchdown that ices the game. No! And there's a flag. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. There's flags. Snap. Hold. Kick.
Denver wins! Denver wins! Let's go!
They open. No!
What happened? Ah, shit.
America is football. Football
America
is
is football,
America.
football is America. And if you don't like it, you can kiss your candy ass.
The moment in time. I don't give a damn.
Oh
my God.
No!
You loved it.
30 to 27. Chiefs win. Chiefs win 30 to 20.
There we go. I had my mic muted. I had my mic muted. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. So, if you're joining us right now, welcome to the Only Football Podcast. This is the episode where we make our Week 10 predictions. I have Rick's predictions in, and I will be going through them as we hit those games. And there's definitely going to be a little bit of a bonus for the 49ers who are getting Christian McCaffrey back. I think this is going to be a really good game because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they're one of the teams with the most on the line this week. They had a chart out, and it said who has the most to lose. And with, I think the Broncos were number one because with a win, they have a 72% chance of making the playoffs. With a loss, it goes all the way down to 47. Tampa Bay, I think it might have been 43 actually, or 44. Tampa Bay was second. So Tampa Bay's got a ton to lose right now. They're sitting with a 4-5 record. A win gets them back to 500. A loss puts them 2 games under 500. So there are going to be some teams that are going to be playing like their season depends on it this week. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are one of them. However, the 49ers, who are 4-4, have not been the 49ers that we have come to know in the last 2 years. But remember, before the 49ers acquired Christian McCaffrey, they were a 3-4 team, and then they never lost another game for the rest of the season. And they didn't lose until Brock Purdy broke his elbow in the NFC Championship game. The following season, CMC stayed healthy, and the 49ers made it all the way to the Super Bowl and took the Chiefs into overtime. This year, CMC has yet to play, and the 49ers look how they looked, vulnerable, beatable, but talented. This is the way they looked before they acquired CMC. So is CMC going to be on a pitch count, or is this going to be like, boom, he's going to hit the ground running, and the 49ers are going to immediately be a juggernaut team that doesn't lose again for the rest of the season? Jinja, with the membership, what is up, Jinja? Happy to have you in here, and we got a new member. That is freaking awesome. Shout out to Jinja. His membership expired apparently. Okay, well, Jinja, we're just happy that you're in here and a member of the Only Football Fan. You'll always be a member though, right here in our hearts. But we're happy to have you a member as well. So let's go through some of these games. I think it's going to be a very important week, kind of a fork in the road, if you will, for a lot of these teams. There's teams that are going to kind of take themselves completely out of the postseason conversation with a loss where it's just going to be a major uphill battle. And there's going to be teams like the Broncos who are doing, I would say they've exceeded everyone's expectations considering they had a 5.5 win total and they had 5 wins by the midpoint of the season. But back-to-back road games against Baltimore and Kansas City. I mean, look, take the best team in the NFL. Take the Lions. It doesn't matter who it is. If you're playing back-to-back road games against the Ravens and the Chiefs, anybody would say, best case scenario is probably a split. Okay? So to me, this is like, I try to remove the Bronco fan from the equation and just look at it in fairness and say, dude, like, it doesn't matter what team had this. These are just very difficult back-to-back games, and if we can win one of them, I think we'll be in good shape. And we did beat the Chiefs last year. We played them close twice. One of them we got to win. This game opened up as a 9.5 point underdog for the Broncos. 9.5 points. So Man, that is just not pretty. But let's start in chronological order. We're going to start with the Giants-Panthers. That's going to be at 8:30 in the morning because this game is going to be in Germany, I believe. It's going to be at the Allianz Arena. It's going to be 47 degrees Fahrenheit, 0% chance of rain. Munich. Where is Munich? Munich is in Germany, correct? Okay. All right, so let's get right into it. This game is in Germany. The over-under right now is at 40.5, so a fairly low-scoring game. The Giants are 6.5-point favorites. Seems kind of hefty. Right off the bat, I don't know. I mean, look, we look at this game and we say the Panthers, man, they're just so bad. But the Giants and the Panthers have the same record, okay? And I think the Panthers will be getting Andy Dalton back. And he, of course, got in that car accident where he sprained his thumb. Carolina Panthers named starting quarterback between Bryce Young and Andy Dalton for Germany game, and it looks like Young took over for Dalton after week 8, minor car accident. I thought it was great just Bryce being out there playing more football. I know that being out there with that group of receivers, getting the chemistry growing, yada, yada, yada. Come on, just give me the freaking answer. I don't want to read an article. Okay, Bryce Young will start for the Panthers for the game in Germany. Okay. So, yeah, I'm definitely gonna go with the Giants here. I have no faith in the quarterback out of Alabama, none at all. And for me, it's a pretty easy decision. Now for Rick, let's see what Rick is doing. Messages are missing. What the hell? All of my messages are missing from Facebook Messenger. Enter your PIN to restore. I don't know what my PIN is. Oh, awesome. I got it right. All right. So Rick, he is going to go with the Giants. And I had to look for it. It's down here. He's... No, I actually don't have his picks in. These are from October 30th. Oh, well, I'll go through them when I get them. But I'm going to be going with the Giants for this game. I don't think the Panthers have what it takes, although the underdog tends to be favored in international games for whatever reason. I personally think the Giants will be able to do enough to get the win. I think Malik Neighbors is going to have a big game against the Panthers. And Daniel Jones, who has been playing pretty good. I know it sounds weird because of the record, but he's coming off of his first 2-touchdown passing game at MetLife in over like 600 days, something ridiculous. He also had a rushing touchdown. Daniel Jones has looked decent at times this season. He's looked better than I expected, to be honest. And what's crazy is this game opened with the Giants being 1.5-point favorites. And it's been bet all the way up to 6.5. So the wise guys are going with the Giants all the way up until probably it got to 7, and then money started coming in on the Panthers, and now it's settled at 6.5. But that tells you that a lot of big money is taking the Giants to win this game by a lot more points than it opened up at. which is, the original projection was this would be a close game. The money says otherwise, which is good news for Bill and Giants fans in general. All right, the next game we are going through, we got the New England Patriots taking on Rick's Chicago Bears. Rick, I mean, the Chicago Bears, Rick had a short on it earlier today. I said, in the off season, I didn't understand why Eberflus wasn't fired. Bears fans kind of rolled with it. They were like, we trust Ryan Poles. But the problems that the Bears have are in the coaching staff. Also, Caleb Williams, who was, projected to be the next Patrick Mahomes. I don't know. Like, I just don't feel like I'm there yet. Not even close. I still need to see Caleb Williams have kind of that statement win against a top passing defense. Now New England is a 2-7 football team, and they're coming on the road. I'm inclined to take the Bears here, but I'm going to make a bolder prediction here. I'm going to go bold. All right. This is my bold pick. And Rick said the Bears don't fire anybody in the middle of the season. And the Bears right now are 6-point favorites. It's actually at 5.5 right now in some places. But the consensus right now, if you take all of the different betting websites, FanDuel, Caesars, BetMGM, it's 6.5 points. Okay. So the Bears are almost a touchdown favorite. This is the same as the Giants. I don't see it happening that way. I don't see the Bears winning by that margin. I just don't. And New England, who has a defensive coach, I don't see Caleb Williams coming in and lighting it up. I just don't. Now, the passing yards allowed for the let me see if I can pull it up really quick. Passing yards allowed for New England is 22nd, okay? But they played Arizona last week, who's 24th, and they didn't do anything. All right? Actually, Arizona only gave up 172 passing yards, and they were averaging in their last 3 games. Arizona was giving up to over 245. That number's come down because of the Bears game. But, I mean, the Bears were only able to throw for 172 yards, and now they're playing a better passing defense. I just have no confidence in this offense right now with all the weapons that they have. It doesn't look good. And when you look at some of the other quarterbacks in better situations with the less weapons, whether we're talking about Bo Nix or Jaden Daniels or even Drake May, right? Drake May, I think there's a good chance Drake May is going to outplay Caleb Williams in this game. And that is a shame, because it's a defensive head coach. There's really nobody on offense that stands out. But yet, the Bears' struggles are so deep that you almost can't even put your finger on it, because it's like, well, if it's the coaching staff, then why is, the Patriots with a terrible, they don't have any offensive geniuses over there, and Drake May surely wasn't projected to be Caleb Williams. Why are they able to have a competent offense? Because Drake May's looked really good at times running around. Last week, I think he lost in overtime, but he did throw a touchdown pass to Ramondre Stevenson. in the final play of the game that lasted for like 13 seconds. This is my bold prediction. The Patriots are going to win this game on the road, and Matt Eberflus will be fired after the game. And I think that will be the beginning of a new era for Chicago, which I think, it's November 8th. The Bears can still salvage the season if they bring in the right guy. But probably anytime you fire a coach in the middle of the season is probably over, because you're going to have to bring in a new guy. He has to establish a new system. This kind of stuff takes time. There's no easy fix. But, the question is, if it's not an easy fix and it's going to take time and you're in playoff contention or still fighting for it, do you have a better chance of bringing in someone new or sticking with Matt Eberflus? And that is the argument to not fire Matt Eberflus. I just think when you are, I think he's like 0-22 in away games. I mean, this guy's never in his entire time being a Bears head coach, he's never won a road game, which is just a coaching mismatch. Like, you look at that stat and you're like, that means you're a bad coach, because you never once had just a solid game plan. Because you know what it takes to win in this league on the road? A really good game plan. Okay. Luckily for the Bears, this game is going to be at home, but still, I mean, it's just not good vibes right now in Chicago. And I think the Patriots, if they're smelling blood, and you hear the way the players in the locker room are talking about Matt Eberflus, I think the Patriots might pounce and take advantage of a vulnerable Chicago team. And I'm sure Rick is going to go with the Bears, but he doesn't probably feel really good about it right now. Next up, we got Buffalo Bills taking on Ginger's Indianapolis Colts. Now, I know there's going to be a lot of people that are out on the Colts after the terrible offensive performance on Sunday Night Football against the Vikings. I'm not. I think this is a great buy low opportunity for the Colts, right? I think that the general public is out right now on the Colts, and I think there's a good chance that the Colts are going to come in and they're going to play a really good game. Now, I think the Bills are ultimately going to win this game, but I think it's going to be a close game, and I think it's going to be really surprising for a lot of people. All right. Now, the Buffalo Bills are one of the best teams in the NFL right now, arguably the best team in the AFC. They are honestly they look unbeatable. They lost 2 in a row, but that is it. Those are their only losses on the season. I think that was week 3 and week 4. And I mean, the Bills are kind of flying a bit under the radar when you really think about it. They haven't played in a nationally televised game since they beat the Jets in week 6, but they've won 4 straight. And in those games, they're averaging 29.5 points. That's the second. I mean, the 7-2 record is the second best in the AFC. And yet they haven't been televised since week 6. And now you look at the Colts. They have a mediocre record, 4-5, but they've really scratched and clawed their way into this record. They're trying to spark the offense with Joe Flacco, but he's 39 years old, and he struggled really bad last week against the Vikings, who had the 28th ranked passing defense, and he ended the night 16 for 27, 179 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. If you just looked at the recent trends, the Bills are clearly the side to take, but that's just not the way the NFL works. I think you might be in for... I know Buffalo is only a 4-point favorite. It just feels like at some point Buffalo's going to have a comeback to earth game. I don't know when it's going to be, but I'm kind of waiting for it at any moment. Indy's defense is giving up almost 384 yards per game. The Bills, they have a top 5 scoring offense, and honestly, no real weakness that stands out. They're good at running the football. And I predicted this when they got rid of Stephon Diggs. I said Josh Allen's going to win MVP because he's going to have his best season as the Bills quarterback. And he didn't even throw a pick until a couple of weeks ago against Seattle. So I just love everything that the Bills are doing. I'm definitely taking the Bills. The Colts, it could be a tough game. I wouldn't be shocked if the Colts play a really close game and the Bills only win by a field goal. That's my sneaky suspicion. I don't know why. It's just I see this game and I'm like, man, I feel like the Colts are going to play a very close game. They could outright win this game if Buffalo has a game where they kind of, come back, to, I don't want to say come back to earth because that implies that they're not as good as they actually are. But, it's the NFL. You're going to have a week where you just didn't play your best game. And then you get back to where you're at. And I'm wondering if that is going to be this week for Buffalo. And I know the Colts, who are coming off just a really terrible performance, I don't know if they're going to do that twice in a row. I think that they're going to be able to do some things right. I think they make some adjustments. I think playing at home is going to be helpful. But we'll see what happens. I'm taking Buffalo to win the game. But should be, I think, a really good game. The 49ers in Tampa Bay, we talked about CMC coming back. He's the X factor in this matchup. How much is he going to boost the 49ers scoring offense or the offense in general? Their red zone offense, where they're 28th right now in scoring touchdowns. I just don't know. McCaffrey's going to play, but is he going to take on a full workload in his regular season debut, or is it going to be a pitch count with Isaac Urnardo and Jordan Mason, both very capable running backs? So I don't know if you want to ease him in because you have the luxury to do it. But Tampa's coming off a short week. Tampa's on a 3-game losing streak right now, but that doesn't really tell the whole story. Those 3 losses have come to opponents with a 20-6 record combined. So they've played very good teams without their best weapons. And Monday's performance against the Chiefs might have been the most impressive because Tampa Bay showed it can compete with the league's best team, arguably, without its 2 best options. And that was just kind of a testament to how good Baker Mayfield is. So I think that the Bucs are a really tough out week in and week out, even without their best weapons. The Buccaneers are 5.5-point underdogs. I would take Bucs plus 5.5. This game's in Buffalo, long trip for the 49ers. I think this game is going to be a close one, another heartbreaking loss probably. I would go 49ers 26, Buccaneers 23. We got Liam Wolf in the chat. What's up, Liam? Oh, that's good. All right. The Vikings and the Jaguars. The Vikings are 6-2. They needed that win last week. They were coming off of a 2-game slide after starting undefeated. And that was just very, very important for the program because it was like a loss and they're 5-3. And then you look at this game and you're like, dude, if they lose again, they're only 1 game from being 500. In the NFL, you can go from, the top of the mountain to the bottom in a snap of a finger. This is a very tough league. And you have to be good every single week, or you're going to blink and you're going to be in mediocrity. The Vikings were there was a real threat that the Vikings were going to find themselves there. They needed that win against the Colts. The Jaguars, they've needed that kind of a win for like 5-6 weeks in a row, and rarely have they gotten it. So that's why they're 2-7. The Vikings are 4-point favorites. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, if you're watching these games, like, they're playing really tough, right? I mean, they nearly pulled off the comeback victory over the Eagles last week. They played a really close game against the Packers where Trevor Lawrence, tied the game up with a minute left, but the defense couldn't hold, and the Packers were able to kick a last-second field goal. Like, the Jaguars, they showed some fight in the whatever it's been 3-4 last weeks. They have not been a team to get embarrassed. But last week, like I said, the Vikings reminded us that they're still a good team, and I think that the win over the Colts on Sunday night was kind of a gritty win. I think it was one of those wins where you don't feel great about. A win is a win, but 21-13, it was just kind of an ugly game. And now the Vikings arguably are going to get a weaker AFC South opponent, at least record-wise. That's how it looks like, but I'm not buying it. I think this is a tougher game than the Colts, especially when you see the way Joe Flacco and the offense played. Like, I guarantee you the Jacksonville is going to offensively do more than what we saw the Colts do last week. So, no, I'm not going to just look at the record and be like, well, the Jaguars they're 2-7, so this is going to be an easier game. That's not true, especially when you look at the opponents Jacksonville's played the last couple of weeks and the way they've played those games. So while sometimes the people just use like the simple math to, measure their opponents, I don't think it's that simple. But I do think the Vikings have enough firepower to outscore the Jaguars. Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, they got TJ Hawkinson back, and Jacksonville has the 31st ranked pass defense. I think this is going to be a win, but this game is going to be in Jacksonville, which I think tightens it up from, say, a 7-point win and brings it down to a 3-point win. I don't see the Vikings winning by more than 4 points. And we've seen a lot of 4-point victories because we've seen a lot of extra points missed this week. So I would take Minnesota -3.5, -4. Anything more than that, I'm going to start taking the Jaguars to cover. All right. Tennessee Titans 2-6 going against the Los Angeles Chargers, who are 5-3. Chargers 7.5-point favorites. This is a tough one because the Chargers, at least to me, appear to be getting better every single week. The Titans are allowing, though, a league low 269 yards per game. I mean, they just can't do anything offensively. They turn the ball over at an alarming rate. Tennessee has the second most giveaways, only trailing the Raiders. The quarterback uncertainty is a story every single week. And you look at the Chargers in week 7, Justin Herbert had his first 300-plus yard game of the season. And then the following week, he threw for multiple touchdowns without an interception. Last week, he averaged a season-high 10.4 yards per pass attempt. This reminds me of Brian Daboll in his first season as head coach of the Giants, where they asked the offensive line to do a lot, or they ran the ball, and they rarely made Daniel Jones do anything with the football. And then later in the season, he started to unlock the quarterback. It feels like since week 7, Justin Herbert has gotten more of a leash, and now the Chargers have a far more offensive balance than they had earlier in the season. And now defenses, when you're game planning against the Chargers, they have to adjust to Herbert's willingness to throw the ball downfield, not just the running game that they had, that ground and pound mentality. Very difficult when you have a team that's as balanced as them. Going into week 10, the Chargers are far more balanced than they were earlier in the league. And for that reason, I'm going to take the Chargers to win this game. I think they're 7.5 point favorites. I think they could win this game by more than 7.5 points. This game is going to be in LA, so any home field advantage that the Titans could have had, they will not have. I'm going to take the Chargers, and I feel pretty confident that I would take them minus 7.5. All right. Next up, we got the Eagles at the Dallas Cowboys, an old-fashioned NFC East rivalry. The Cowboys have lost multiple key defenders early in the season. Deron Bland, he had a foot injury. He hasn't taken a regular season snap. DeMarcus Lawrence had a foot injury. Micah Parsons had an ankle. They haven't played since week 4. But now the Cowboys have a bigger issue. Dak Prescott, hamstring, likely headed to injured reserve. And CeeDee Lamb battling a shoulder injury. This is a really tough game for the Cowboys because all their best players are out. I mean, the Cowboys defense, it's been a run funnel without their top defenders. They have nobody that can stop the running game. And the Eagles, they have this guy named Saquon Barkley who jumps over people backwards. I mean, he is playing insane at an insane level right now. I just don't see any way that Mike McCarthy can find a way to win this game. The Eagles are playing pretty good. Like, they're 6-2, and I don't feel like they get talked about like being one of the best teams in the league. But I think it's time that, we start considering that, it's week 10 and they have 2 losses on the year. I think this one's pretty straightforward. Prescott is out for the foreseeable future. Lamb is likely to play, but I mean, he's on the mend after the shoulder. I don't know how effective he's going to be kind of nursing the injury. These rivalries have typically gone back and forth over the years, but the Cowboys, even with Dak and Lamb this season, haven't been very good. So I'm almost, if you're a Cowboys fan, I know you must be worried to even think about what they're going to look like without him. Meanwhile, as I expected, the Vic Fangio-led defense is looking better every single week, and Saquon Barkley should have a field day. I think Philly wins this by at least 10 points, and they are 7.5 point favorites. So I am taking the Eagles minus 7.5. I think this could be a 34-20 victory. All right. Now for my intriguing game of the week. All right. This is my intriguing game of the week right here. The New York Jets at Arizona Cardinals. The New York Jets at the Arizona Cardinals. The Jets offense looked mediocre in the first half, but they scored 21 points in the second half against the Texans. And to just put that into context, they didn't score more than 20 points in any of their games between week 4 and 7. So something sparked the offense. Now the Jets are coming off of a mini bye playing on Thursday night. I think that helps their focus, but it hurts their momentum. But Aaron Rodgers is going to have this team dialed in. They understand that they have to run the table. that they have to RELAX, that they have to win out basically to win or to find themselves in a playoff position. Okay. But both these teams are coming off of huge wins, and they find themselves in dramatically different places at this point in the season. The Cardinals, arguably one of the better surprises of the season, and they are maintaining a first place lead in an NFC West division that's up for grabs, with the 49ers being 500, with the Seahawks being, below mediocre, and the Rams, they didn't have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua for a majority of the season, and then when they finally did get Puka Nacua back, he was ejected in the first quarter for throwing a punch last week. So this division is totally up for grabs. I think, like I said, there's no question that the Jets are in must-win territory from here on out, and they have struggled, on the road massively. The scary thing is that the Jets were in a must-win situation when they played the New England Patriots, okay, and they lost. So just saying that the Jets are in must-win territory doesn't necessarily give them the nod, because they were in must-win territory when they lost the game before the Houston Texans. So, but the difference is the offense looked different in the second half of the Houston Texans game. Okay, Aaron Rodgers and Adams finally had that reunion of a game. Garrett Wilson showcased an amazing game with that ridiculous touchdown grab. That's going to be the catch of the year, maybe. Now the question is, how consistent will they remain, and can they repeat that performance? I'm going to say, because the connection to Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams goes back a decade, I'm going to take the Jets here. I'm going to take the Jets to win a close one. A lot of people are going in on the Cardinals in this game. I'm going to trust my gut in this spot, and I'm going to take the Jets. I think that we're going to get a vintage Rodgers performance. I think he's going to play a very good game. I think he's going to throw for multiple touchdowns. I think he's going to throw for over 300 yards. I do think it's going to be a close game, but I am going against the grain here. The Cardinals are 1-point favorites, and I'm taking the Jets. All right, the Detroit Lions going against the Houston Texans. This is probably the game of the week right here. The Lions are 7-1. The Texans are 6-3, coming off of a bad loss. The Lions are 3.5-point favorites. I was mentioning this earlier. I forget which game it was. It might have been the Vikings. No. It was the Colts and the Bills. Okay, and I want to drive this point home one more time. The reason the NFL, even the people that are the best at making their predictions, the reason that you rarely see somebody over 55, 60% is because the NFL is random as hell. It would be very easy to just sit here and take the best teams in each game, but that's not the way the NFL works. And sometimes the better team does lose, right? That's the name of the game. That's what every given Sunday is all about. Now, I'm not taking the Texans to beat the Lions, but I am saying that the Detroit Lions, who are clearly the better team, it's not that simple to just take the Lions and run away. I mean, the Texans' offense hasn't been the same without Nico Collins. They're not even averaging 20 points per game over the last 3 weeks. CJ Stroud has thrown only one touchdown pass, and the Lions are dominating their opponents. They have the number one scoring offense. They're averaging 39.2 points over their last 5 games, guys. That is ridiculous. That is absolutely redonkulous. And look, at some point you can't expect that type of performance. And I think this is probably one of those games where the Lions win, but I think it's a very close game. Okay. The Lions are rolling, but this to me is a sell high spot for the Lions. You're going to have everybody going in on the Lions because the Texans haven't been playing good, but I think you're going to get the Texans to play a really good complete game here. At home, the Texans haven't lost back-to-back games since September. They're a very resilient team. They're at home. They have extra rest because of playing the Jets. They're at least going to keep this one close, and that is what I'm trying to say. If you just go off the past 4 weeks, it's obvious. The Lions win by 10. That's not the league that we're living in. So I'm gonna take the Lions, but I'm gonna take the Texans plus 3.5, and I'm thinking the Lions. I think that the Lions win this game. I'm gonna say 30-27. Okay. I think that the offense is going to be good, but I don't know if it's going to be 40 points good. I think it might be. I mean, look, coming back down to earth for the Lions is still 30 points. This is clearly the best team in the NFL. But the Texans at home, well coached, resilient, big game for CJ Stroud. I like the Texans to play the Lions really close and lose it at the very end by a field goal. The Miami Dolphins taking on the LA Rams. This was a really, really tough game for me. This is my don't touch it. The Dolphins come into this matchup with their, I don't even know. Are we still talking about playoffs? If we are, the Dolphins have their backs against the wall and they are a long shot. But if they do have some fight left in them, maybe Tua's third game back from his concussion with his playmakers healthy, maybe this is one of those games where we can expect Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane to run up and down the field against the Rams, whose defense has been pretty below average all season. There's really not an obvious reason why the Dolphins are a 2-win team, besides the fact that Tua wasn't their quarterback. And for everybody that was like, anyone can operate this offense. Well, it appears that is not true, because the Dolphins have looked like absolute crap without Tua in the game. But even since they've gotten Tua back, they just haven't looked that great. We're still waiting for that game where, Jalen Waddle, he's had like 2 targets for 29 yards and just like terrible numbers. Fantasy football wise, he's arguably not even a flex play. And this is a guy that was drafted as a wide receiver too. So, at some point, I think you're going to get the Dolphins offense to play a complete game, and all the playmakers are going to stand out. Okay. The Rams are 23rd against the pass this season. So this is the game the Dolphins can unleash all of these weapons. The gap between these teams just isn't as wide as the records would indicate. I think the Dolphins probably could get an upset win that really isn't an upset. If you would have looked at this game in the preseason and said the Dolphins are going to win this game against the Rams, and you were surprised about that, whoever you were talking to would have said, is Tua hurt? Why is that shocking? And you would go, no, Tua's healthy. Is Tyreek playing? Yeah, Tyreek, Jalen Waddle, Devon Achane. They're all healthy. Well, why are they underdogs? Well, because they haven't looked like themselves this year, even with Tua back. But At some point, that's going to change. At some point, it's going to change. And I think this is the game. I think it's very realistic that the Dolphins go out there. I mean, and if they don't, their season's over. So that's the other variable, is that the Dolphins have their back against the wall. If there's any shot at making the playoffs, it involves winning these type of games. Now, I know the Rams are no slouch. They beat the Vikings on Thursday night just a couple weeks ago, and that was a really good performance, and they have their weapons. But still, like, if you're going to make the playoffs, you got to win these type of games. You got to save your loss for the Lions or the Chiefs or the Ravens. The teams that are above average, you got to beat those teams because you just can't afford to lose this game. So this is their season. If they drop to 2-7, it's probably over. That would involve them needing to win out to get to double-digit victories. And it's hard to imagine them winning out if they can't start against the Rams and win this one. Weird. Hold on one second. There we go. I gotta send something. What do we got? 8, 9. Screenshot. Boom. All right. Now, I know there was one game that I didn't mention, and there's a reason for that. There's 2 games that I didn't mention, but it's time to mention them. All right, let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers taking on the Washington Commanders. All right. Like, the Steelers, I mean, they have unlocked whatever was left from Russell Wilson. They have unlocked it, and he's playing pretty damn good. See that? I'm edgy. I'm one of those NFL media guys that says damn. That's my favorite. It's like, I don't swear, but I'll say damn. The Steelers are pretty damn good. I had one of the people, I work in a 55 and up community. I had one of the ladies today. Oh my God, I could not. I was trying so hard not to laugh. I'll real quick give you the backstory. So somebody that I was in the real estate world for a little bit, and somebody that was doing real estate in the area was somebody that I grew up going to church with. And I was calling him, about a house that was on the market, and he was talking about this guy he works with. And I went to church with this guy when I was a middle schooler. He was one of my leaders, and we're talking on the phone, and I have it on speaker. And my mom, who does real estate too, she's standing next to me, and he's talking about this guy, and he goes, "Pardon my French," and we both look at each other like, what is he about to say? And he goes, "Now this guy, pardon my French, he has screwed me over." And we just could not stop laughing because it was like, oh my God, we thought you were about to swear. And he said screwed. So today, this lady's talking to me, and she was talking about this farm that she bought, this like investment where she had like $10,000 into this farm that makes, like dairy products and stuff. And she said, this guy bought the land, and she goes, "Pardon my French, he screwed us." And all I could think about was that moment where me and my mom had that thing, and I was like, she thought I was, and then I started smiling, and she thought that I was laughing that she got screwed over, and then it was even funnier, and then I just felt like my eyes swelling with tears, and I'm just like, oh my god, I just need to laugh. This is so much worse when you can't laugh. But I couldn't tell her why I was laughing. Oh, it's so funny. I just needed to tell you guys. I needed to tell somebody that. But let's talk about the Steelers and the Commanders. And the Commanders, third ranked scoring offense, right? We talked about this earlier when we talked about Caleb Williams. And the fact is, what's his name? Not Clint Kubiak, offense coordinator. What? Come on. Head coach for the Cardinals. Went to the Philippines when he got fired. Clint USC. What the hell is his name? This is going to drive me crazy. Commanders OC. Cliff Kingsbury. Thank you. Okay. He's been amazing. And he's done good enough where I think he could be a head coach again. And Jaden Daniels, he's going to be a Rookie of the Year candidate. The Commanders have the third-ranked rushing attack. I mean, he's definitely the best quarterback taken in this draft. Pat myself on the back for saying that he was the best quarterback in this year's draft. The Commanders are probably the best story in the NFL this season. But are you really going to give Tomlin points, who are plus 2.5, against a rookie quarterback? As good as Daniels has been, the Tomlin-led Steelers are 25-6 against rookie quarterbacks. And also, with that said, the Steelers, besides their history against rookie quarterbacks, Mike Tomlin, as a home favorite, not a good record. Not a good record, okay? But a road underdog, that's where you want Mike Tomlin if you're betting on him. And here they are, a road underdog, 6-2 Steelers going against the 7-2 Commanders, 2.5-point underdogs. I like this Commanders team, but history suggests that I would be a fool to pick against Mike Tomlin's track record against rookie quarterbacks and against underdog on the road trends as well. I think the Steelers are going to win this game outright. If you want to be safe, take the Steelers, to cover the spread, but I think you could take them to win outright. Now, if the Commanders do win this is a statement win for the franchise. This would be one of those wins where you're talking about a Commanders team that could make a deep playoff run. This is no longer about the Commanders getting to the postseason. This is wondering what the ceiling is and if they have what it takes to take on teams like the Lions and the Eagles and the Packers and the Vikings. And, and that's if they're not already in that conversation. But a win like that would definitely be meaningful because it's not because the Steelers are such a good team. It's really not. The reason a win would be so big for the franchise, why the win would be so significant, is because Mike Tomlin's record as an underdog on the road, because of his record against rookie quarterbacks, because that means that Jaden Daniels is different than all of those other quarterbacks. That means that there's something different where history doesn't apply to Jaden Daniels. He's kind of outside of the statistics because he's a variable that just doesn't fit into this equation. He is other. He is different. And we already know that he is, but is he so different that this type of track record doesn't apply to him that Mike Tomlin and the Steelers have? We're going to find out. I think my heart is with the Commanders. to win this game. My brain is obviously taking the Steelers, but if the Commanders can win this game, it would probably confirm my suspicion that Jayden Daniels is not only one of the best stories of the NFL, but he's going to be a top 5 quarterback for the foreseeable future. Now, Washington, by the way, isn't going to run the ball with ease against the Steelers defense that's allowed fewer than 100 rushing yards per game. And the Steelers have improved their offensive output since switching to Russell Wilson. So this is going to be a tough game. But this right here is my game of the week A. Right? I have 2 games of the week. And the last game is the Denver Broncos taking on the Kansas City Chiefs. All right. Let's get right into it. And before I do, I'm going to give you some of Rick's picks. All right. Eagles, Cowboys. Rick went Eagles. Nothing about this Cowboy team is good except CeeDee Lamb. Who's throwing him the ball? Rush or Lance? It doesn't matter. This team's going to struggle against the Eagles. Hurts and Saquon are playing great right now and will roll the Cowboys. Very similar to what I was saying. Texans, Lions. This game may be sneaky close. Exactly what I was thinking. Texans defense is 2nd in yards per game, and the Lions offense is 7th in yards per game. So this may come down to who has the ball last. Texans defense is 2nd in yards per game. So I think what he's saying is the Texans don't give up a ton of yards, and the Lions do score a ton of or put up a ton of yards. But I'm taking Goff over Stroud because he's playing like a legit MVP. Very similar to my pick as well. Monday Night Football, Dolphins, Rams. He's going Rams. Tua versus Stafford will be a good battle. This is tough because weapons on both sides are good. But I'm taking the home team as well as the team that's won 3 in a row. So Rick going with the Rams. And, we agree with all those picks besides the Rams. I went Dolphins with that pick. But Rick's going to also be posting his picks on the community tab. He had sent me the picks, but somehow Facebook deleted all of them. So he's going to upload them here in a second. But let's go into the last game that I saved for the best for last, all right? The Atlanta Falcons at the New Orleans Saints. I'm just kidding. But I did have to cover this one as well. Let me just say really quick. Atlanta's 3.5-point favorites. Here is my upset of the week. Upset of the week. I'm taking the Saints plus the points. Atlanta, 3.5-point favorites. I'm taking the Saints plus 3.5. They don't have to win outright. They just have to lose by a field goal or less. Now, the Saints lost to the Panthers last Sunday. They fired Dennis Allen. They fired the special teams coordinator Darren Rizzi is taking over as the interim head coach. And to make matters worse, they have a ton of injuries at receiver. Olave suffered a concussion, unlikely to play. Rashid and Bub Means are in injured reserve. Bub Means is out for the season. But the reason I am taking the Saints is the interim coaching bump. After a team fires its head coach, we've talked about this a ton, you get a boost, a locker room morale boost. You get the team's best fight. Now, it didn't work out for the Jets earlier when they failed to cover the 2.5-point spread against the Buffalo Bills in Week 6. But on paper, the Falcons should have no business losing this game. But, of course, the Saints had no business losing to the Panthers last week, and they did anyway. So what we know about the NFL, especially the NFC South, is it's very weird. The division is just weird. Atlanta's the better team, but they're also dealing with injuries. Drake London has a hip. Grady Jarrett, he has an Achilles. They barely escaped the Saints in their first meeting. They only won by 2. And if you remember correctly, they had like a 1% chance of winning that game. And then they ended up coming back and winning. No. I'm thinking of the Tampa Bay Atlanta game. But still, they only won by 2. New Orleans, not healthy, but it's just at this point in the season, I feel like the Saints are accustomed to playing shorthanded. In the divisional matchups, I mean, it just comes with shenanigans. I have a feeling we're going to see the unexpected in New Orleans. That's the difference maker. This game is in New Orleans. I think the special teams coordinator, Rizzi, is going to inspire a stronger effort from the Saints than we've seen in recent weeks. I'm going to bank on the interim coach bump, the home field advantage, and I'm taking the points here. Falcons win this game 23-20, but I like the Saints plus 3.5. And last, but certainly not least, I bring to you my game of the week, part 2. The Denver Broncos at Kansas City Chiefs. Now, I said earlier, people are out on the Broncos because of the way they lost to the Ravens. They're like, that was their chance to prove they were a good team. No. You could take the best teams in the NFL, tell me that they are playing back-to-back weeks against the Chiefs and the Ravens, and I would say the best teams in the NFL, you could hope to split that series. That's about it. And I think Denver has a chance to win this game and split the series. The other thing is you could say, well, the way they lost to the Ravens just took all of, the inspiration out of the team. It took the hope out of the fan base. I mean, look, you play the Ravens in Baltimore after a loss, they're going to embarrass you. That's just the way it is. Now, keep in mind, the Ravens embarrassed the Lions last year at home. They embarrassed the 49ers at home. Like, they embarrassed a lot of good teams at home. You almost have to just throw it away. Okay? And that's what good teams do. Did that loss, the embarrassing loss of the Ravens, define the Lions? Hell no, it didn't. They went as far as the Ravens ended up going. And arguably should have went further, but they choked the third quarter away. They definitely had a better playoff game against the 49ers than Ravens did against the Chiefs. So, like, it's just one game. The Baltimore Ravens, it's an embarrassing loss, but you have to move on. And the good teams know how to move on. You get rid of last week, and Sean has been saying all week that you can tell it's a different team than last year. The energy is not sucked out of the building. It sucks. We lost going to the East Coast, a West Coast team playing in the noon slot, daylight savings time. The Ravens coming off a loss in their own house. It was a bad deal, okay? Now we have to go play Kansas City, and we have to forget about all of that. Kansas City is an 8-point favorite to win this game, okay? Last year, we beat Kansas City, and we split the series with them, okay? Now Kansas City is coming off a short week because they played Tampa Bay, and by the way, that game went into overtime, so there's a lot of people that I think are taking Kansas City and the points. I think they should be worried about a team covering a big spread following an overtime game on a short week against a divisional opponent. This, to me, screams Broncos. All right? Now, just for betting sake, the Broncos +8 is my pick all day long. Now let the fan in me talk, and let's move that aside. all signs point to the Denver Broncos covering in this situation. Okay. They completely flopped against the AFC heavyweight last week, losing 41-10. Like I said, the Lions lost bad to the Ravens last year. The 49ers lost bad to the Ravens last year. A lot of good teams lose to the Ravens bad in Baltimore. Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes, but he hasn't been that great this season. But we did see a spark and a rapport with DeAndre Hopkins, who they acquired 2 weeks ago. And now we're starting to see. But I think Patrick Surtain's going to be on him the entire game. So you're going to need a big game out of Travis Kelce, who has a ton. I think he's averaging like 10 to 12 targets per game the last 3 weeks. And he has drawn a ton of attention. This is going to be a game where he's going to get a ton of targets. Now, I'm not saying that this is going to be an easy win, but I'm really confident that the Broncos can win this game. Very confident. Okay, I think there's a real chance that the Chiefs put together a really good effort at home against a division rivalry, and still the Broncos are able to overcome. They're an undefeated team, but keep in mind they've trailed in every game but one this season. They've covered the spread this large only twice in 8 games, and even after getting annihilated last week in Baltimore, Denver is still 6th total in defense and 3rd in scoring defense, which tells you how good their defense really is. Last week was an anomaly, so I'm not going to even factor that in. As long as that loss doesn't redefine our team, we're going to be okay. And that's what good teams do. They take it on the chin and they move on. Okay. But I think Denver is going to win this game. I think they're going to go on the road. I think they're going to hand Kansas City its first loss of the season. I have been predicting this for 4 weeks now, that Kansas City would lose its first game of the year to Denver. And surely I made that prediction 4 weeks ago. I definitely am not going back on it after a long game that went into overtime on a short week of rest against a Broncos team that may be undervalued and because of the way they lost to the Ravens. So I don't see a scenario where Kansas City just blows the Broncos' doors off and they get embarrassed. I just don't. Denver played Kansas City really close twice last year, and they won one of them, and I think they have a better team this year. So this is going to be a good game in my opinion, but this is also Bo Nix, who is the future of our franchise. This is his first game against Patrick Mahomes in what will be a very, very long rivalry between these quarterbacks. How will Bo Nix look in his first game against Patrick Mahomes? That, to me, is what I'm most excited to see, right? Obviously, when you're in a division with Patrick Mahomes, you have to have a good quarterback or you're never going to win anything. So how does Bo Nix, as a rookie in his first game, measure up to Patrick Mahomes? I'm excited to find out. I'm taking the Denver Broncos to upset the Kansas City Chiefs on the road, and I'm going to take Denver 23-20. Get him, Broncos! And Bill said, in late, was listening to the Knicks stream. Sorry, I didn't know you were going live. No worries, Bill. I did take the Giants to beat the Panthers. I just want it on record saying that I am taking the Giants, and I gave Daniel Jones his flowers after what I believe has been an above-average performance the last 2 to 3 weeks. So definitely go back. That, of course, was the first game we covered because the game's in Germany. So it's going to be happening at 8:30 in the morning. All right. So that is all of my predictions. Hopefully you guys agree with all of them. Hopefully there isn't a single game that you didn't agree with. But I want to go over a couple different things really quick before I let you guys go. Top 25 rookies at the midway point of the season. Top 25 rookies at the mid-season point. All right. Well, this is always exciting to do because I think at this point it's really fair to say we have a good grip on who the best players were in the draft. Okay, and number one, actually, let me start at 25. All right, I'll go through these pretty quick. At number 25, Bill Tyrone Tracy Jr., running back, drafted in the 5th round, 166 overall. Tracy leads all rookie running backs with 442 rushing yards. Pretty impressive for a guy who spent most of his 6 years in his college career playing at wide receiver. But that yardage figure is even more remarkable when you consider the Giants didn't give him more than 5 carries in a game until October. It was Devin Singletary's groin injury that opened the door for the new guy to carry the load. And now that Tracy has put his explosive game on full display, I don't see New York going back to Wally Pitt. All right. At number 24, this was my steal of the draft. There was 5 picks that stand out. Isaac Guernardo in the 5th round. In the 4th round, no, I think it was the 3rd round, Peyton Wilson, the linebacker out of North NC State, who I believe was drafted to the Steelers. Braden Fisk out of Florida State in the 2nd round. Unbelievable. I have no idea how he fell to the 2nd round. He comes in at 24. Last year, Les Snead replenished the defensive front with 2 impact rookies in Byron Young and Kobe Turner. This year, the Rams general manager appeared to have it done again. This time, he got Jared Verse and Braden Fisk, 2 studs from one school out of Florida State. Fisk is running circles around other rookie defensive tackles in the QB pressure department with 26 by PFF's count, and he just posted his first 2-sack game this past Sunday. Seriously, like the fact that he dropped to the 2nd round just tells you that the people that are getting paid millions of dollars to do this are not good. They're just not. There was no doubt that Braden Fisk was going to be a Pro Bowler immediately, and yet he falls all the way to the 2nd round. In the Rams, the fact that they got to sit back and at 39 overall draft Braden Fisk is seriously like the steal of the draft. And 24, in my opinion, it's way too low. He needs to be up high. He should be in the top 10. There's nobody that has more QB pressures, I believe, as a rookie than Braden Fisk. Cooper DeJean, round 2, 40th overall, another guy that fell really low. He was nitpicked during the pre-draft process, facing questions about his positional scheme and fit in the NFL, but he's making all those concerns look foolish. He had a hamstring injury that delayed his ascension on the depth chart, but he's added a major boost to the Eagles' secondary. All right, and week 5. He shadowed and stuffed Jamar Chase on a 4th and 1 swing pass. That was his eye-popping play. All right, Edgerrin Cooper, the linebacker for the Packers. Yes, he has been amazing. You missed the entire preseason with a hip injury, so he had a slow start, but he's come on like a house on fire over the past 5 games. He's been a rotational player, limited on passing downs, but the rangy Cooper still finds all rookie linebacker, still leads all rookie linebackers with 44 tackles. He's been amazing. I believe he was out of Ohio State, if I'm not mistaken. No, Texas A&M. That's right. I was just talking about him when I was game planning. And Bill said, Tyrone Tracy Jr., number 1 rusher this week. And they said the fact that the Rams got both Braden Fisk and Jared Verse is insane. Yeah, highway robbery. Bo Nix, number 21. Oh. Nix threw 4 picks in the first 2 weeks of the season and left a lot to be desired this past Sunday. In related news, Denver lost all 3 of those games. But in between, the Broncos have won 5 of 6, with the rookie quarterback playing solid football. Nix in weeks 3 to 8, 65 completion percentage, 8-1 touchdown to interception ratio, 200 rushing yards, 3 rushing touchdowns. The man with the most starts in college football history was viewed as a fine fit in Sean Payton's offense, given his quick processing, precision passing, and functional athleticism. It feels like he didn't get enough credit for the explosiveness in his arm and his legs. Yeah, that's because the media is a machine and they just repeat their own bullshit. Like, I'm sorry for a lack of better words, and the arm talent is the perfect example of that. Like, the guy throws a 65-yard pass off his back leg, and every time I turn the TV on, they go, I know he doesn't have arm talent. I get all that. He doesn't have a big arm. Okay, well, I don't know why they keep saying that. I really don't. Besides the fact that they, of course, keep saying that, right? It's a circle. They say it because they said it. Doesn't make it true. But unfortunately, some people rely on the mainstream media, and they'll believe anything that the talking heads say. Drake May, 20. Oh, come on. You can put Drake May over Bo Nix. New England lorded over the league for the last 2 decades in this millennium. But in 2024, the Patriots have one of the worst rosters in the NFL. That's why some folks wanted the franchise to slow play the number 3 overall pick, fearing that throwing him into the fire with a lackluster supporting cast could get him burned. But Gerard Mayo gave May the starting reins in week 6. And the football watching world is better off for it. Not that he's taken the league by storm like Jaden Daniels, far from it, but May's raw traits jump off the screen. Lasers on and off platform basically has become New England's run game of late as well. Not to mention he provided an epic thrill ride of a play this past Sunday, scrambling around for 12 seconds before delivering a game-tying touchdown pass with no time remaining on the clock. And I believe he threw that to Ramondre Stevenson. Bill said, I'd rather trust my lying eyes than whatever any talking heads say. Yes. You got to trust your eyes. Trevondre Sweat comes in at 19, the nose tackle. At number 18, Caleb Williams. It's crazy. How is Caleb Williams here at 18? Oh, my God. Doesn't make any sense. I mean, he has only 2 good games against 28th and the 30th ranked passing defense. Now, the reason Caleb Williams is here is because he has a 6-1 touchdown ratio against the Panthers and the Jags. That is my point. It was the Panthers and the Jags. Those were his best 2 games of the season. Unfortunately, he followed that up with a pair of duds and back-to-back road losses to the Commanders and Cardinals, completing less than 50% of his passes, throwing for like 150 yards. But Caleb Williams, he's the number 1 overall pick and that alone is going to boost him. Now, I'm not saying that he doesn't have the potential to be good. I'm just saying at this point in the season, I don't think he's outperformed the other quarterbacks. I really don't. Like, he's had 2 good games, but that's it. You know, I know Rick might agree with me, actually. I don't know. We'll have to ask him. Taliese Fuga, the left tackle for the Saints. He was drafted 14th overall. He's been really dominant, the left tackle out of Oregon State. I mean, anytime you take a left tackle, 15th or higher, the expectation is that he's going to be there for a long time. So good news for the Saints in a year where it feels like they just don't have enough talent. At least their draft picks are working. Evan Williams, safety for the Packers. Of course, the Packers signed Xavier McKinney, who leads the league in takeaways, but that was another good pickup. In second rounder, Javon Bullard was the higher draft pick, which is crazy. The Packers defense is so young and so talented. And the reason, if you're not paying close attention to Green Bay, you're like, well, they had a young defense last year and they were good. And, here's their second year together and they just got a little bit better. Yeah, that's true, but that's only half of the story. The other half is that they've drafted a bunch of players that have really worked out, like Javon Bullard, like Evan Williams, like Edgerrin Cooper. And we haven't even mentioned that they brought in Xavier McKinney on free agency. This defense is one of the best defenses. Very underrated. J.C. Latham at 14, left tackle for the Titans. Bucky Irving at 13, running back for Tampa. I agree. That guy, every time he touches the ball, something good happens. Even when there's nothing there, he finds a way to make it a positive play. He is a fourth-round pick, number 125 overall. Good pick. Ladd McConkey at 12, second-round pick, 34th overall. Starting to get a real rapport with Justin Herbert. At 11, Andrew Phillips, New York Giants. Physical defensive back, uses versatility, inevitable accountability. In the wake of the loss of the Commanders, Phillips was beside himself due to a pair of subpar snaps. The first came on a Terry McLaurin touchdown that initially appeared to be on Deonte Banks, but not according to Phillips. We're playing a technique. I'm supposed to take the underneath. We're supposed to switch on McLaurin. Yeah, I'm supposed to do that. That's me, Phillips said. I got to be better for this team. The second was a missed tackle that allowed Washington convert a 3rd and 18 and eventually score another touchdown. If I get that tackle on 3rd down, that doesn't happen. I'll take it on the chin. I don't care. I got to be better. I got to be better on my details. I got to grow up. Don't be too hard on yourself, Drew. You're playing and acting like a seasoned vet. Drew can get a little handsy, though. It's a rookie problem, but he'll grow out of it, and he'll be a top corner in the league. That's for sure. And you got him in the 3rd round, so pat yourself on the back, New York. Tyke Smith, and he was selected in the 3rd round, 89 overall. A nickel position, which routinely approaches a starter's share of snaps in today's NFL, remains generally underappreciated, but not in these rankings. Smith is the first of 3 nickelbacks to make the cut, and honestly, I feel guilty for not spotlighting a 4th. You deserve better, Beanie Bishop Jr. Smith does a little bit of everything for the Bucs. Feels like he's everywhere. The stuffed stat sheet doesn't lie. 42 tackles, 5 passes defended, 3 forced fumble, 2 tackles for a loss, 2 QB hits, and an interception. Marvin Harrison comes in at number 9, I don't need to give you the story. You guys know who he is. Joe Alt at number 8. A lot of people said that Harbaugh should have drafted Malik Neighbors, and he said, no, I want Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt. And look at Joe Alt. I mean, that was a no-miss pick. Zach Frazier, second-round pick for the Steelers. He's been amazing this year for the Steelers, and that's exactly what Russell Wilson needs: a good running game, a great offensive line, and a really good defense, and a defensive coach that doesn't want to get cute with the playbook, that just wants to run the football. It seems like the Steelers right now are a knockoff Super Bowl Seahawks team, including Russell Wilson. He's like a knockoff version of himself. So, I don't know. Maybe the Steelers can be a knockoff Super Bowl team. They're starting to feel that way. Surely they are. Brian Thomas Jr., who, when me and Rick did this earlier, Rick gave him, I think, a B grade, and I gave him an A. He is amazing. I'm telling you, he's going to be the number one for the Jaguars for a very long time. He is going to be a top receiver in this league. He's nipping at the heels of his former college teammate, Malik Neighbors, giving LSU 3 of the top 6 rookies. This raises an obvious question. With Jaden Daniels throwing the ball to Neighbors and Thomas, how did the 2023 Tigers ever lose? Well, the 108th ranked defense didn't help. But I digress. Thomas is big, fast, and smooth, possessing the ability to torch defenses on smoke screens or beat them over the top. It is true, man. LSU offensively, I mean, that offense is going to go down as one of the best. Malik Neighbors, Brian Thomas Jr., and Jaden Daniels. That's going to age well. Number 5 is Malik Neighbors, who the Giants now have 3 players in the top 25. Neighbors sprinted out of the gates his rookie season, commanding serious consideration for the number 1 spot in these rankings at the quarter mark. But then a concussion sidelined him for a couple weeks, and he hasn't produced the same Pro Bowl level over the past 3 games. Now through week 9, the rookie still ranks second among all receivers in targets, 84 and 55 receptions, but drops have been a bit of an issue in recent games. I think this week against Carolina's defense, something tells me that he's going to have a breakout game. Another breakout game. He's going to get back to where he was. Quinyon Mitchell, cornerback. So Philly has Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell in here. No surprise, right? As soon as they drafted those 2 corners, you already knew that they were going to be here. It was a no-miss pick. Quinyon Mitchell's at number 4 right now. He is doing awesome. In Toledo, he played off coverage with his eyes on the quarterback. Right now, he's logged a season-high 20 snaps in press, with Trevor Lawrence refusing to target him even once last week. At this point, I'm trying to figure out what this size, speed, swag combo can't do. He literally does everything right now. So, I mean, I don't know how the Eagles got away with that. Jared Verse comes in at number 3. Like I said, like Bill said, it's just ridiculous. 7th most pressures in the league through week 9. Verse is the type of edge rusher you feel all game long. His disruption is at another level since the week 6 bye. Over the past 3 games, Verse has piled up 19 pressures, 9 hits, and 2.5 sacks. Jared Verse had 2 sacks in 1 game last week. A true power player off the edge, the 6'4", 260-pounder has no trouble bullying pedigreed left tackles. And when a tight end draws the blocking assignment, get ready to take a ride back into the quarterback's lap. Jared Verse, a steal at 19 overall. Number 2, Brock Bowers. Outside of a shocking win in Baltimore, the Raiders haven't had anything to feel good about, but clearly nailed the 13th pick. this is another thing, like, the Raiders who just fired offensive coordinator, was it Matt Nagy? No, I don't think it was Matt Nagy. Hold on. Luke Getsy. The Raiders just fired Luke Getsy, and it's like, people, especially Bears fans, they're like, see. To be fair, like, I don't know what Raiders fans expected. Like, you went into a season with Aiden O'Connell, and you expected him to play like Mahomes. And then you went in with Jacoby Myers or God, who is that? Who it is? Who's their number one receiver? It was Zamir White, right? And Alexander Madison. And it's like, you wanted them to be really good. And then you go in with these wide receivers, Jacoby Myers, and you wanted him to be Devontae Adams. It's like, dude, you really have nothing. You really had nothing. So it's like they fire him, and it's like, yeah, I'm not so sure that he was the problem. I'm not saying that he wasn't the problem, but I am saying, like, that's just a bad job to take. Unfortunately, that is why, if I was a coach, I would be a little picky about what jobs I take, because now he's fired and he's got that bullshit tied to his resume when that was just a terrible situation to begin with. Terrible, 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 terrible. And number one is going to go to Jayden Daniels. Jayden Daniels has been everything and more that he was advertised. I mean, this guy accounted for 50 touchdown passes his senior season. Yeah, he's only going to get better. He's going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the league. I mean, we talked about CJ Stroud being like one of those very rare quarterbacks that you draft and immediately you're better. Well, the NFL was able to do this 2 years in a row with Jayden Daniels doing it this year. It's insane. Maybe the quarterbacks are coming into the league more polished than they've ever been, or maybe these 2 years have been an anomaly. We're going to find out, with the next couple of years, if it can continue. Of course, we got a Manning coming into the league in a couple of years, so that'll be exciting. But Jayden Daniels, one of the best in the league right now, and honestly, a real MVP contender. But that is our top 25 rookies at this point in the season. And those are my predictions. I hope you guys enjoyed it. And if you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up in the chat. Look out for Rick's predictions. He's going to be posting them in the community notes. He sent them to me, but they got deleted somehow. Facebook kind of shit the bed for a second. So Bill makes a good point that the extra COVID years gave them more experience, and it's definitely showing. So please like this video and share it if you want with your friends and family. We did get Jinja, who became a membership. His membership expired apparently, and he re-signed up. So thank you, Bill, for becoming, or Jinja, for becoming a part of the Only Football fam. I know Bill's going to be watching this pod back. So, Bill, enjoy the show. And please like this video on your way out. But you guys are awesome. Can't wait to see you guys on Sunday for more football. Broncos Chiefs should be a really good game. And good luck, Bill, to your Giants in Germany. And you guys, always a good time. See